Why did Allah mention Asiya in the Quran? Why is her story placed beside the greatest examples of believers? This question is important, because in the Quran Allah does not speak without reason. Every story, every name, every word carries weight. Asiya's name is not just a memory, it is a lesson, a sign, a light for those walking through darkness. When Allah speaks about someone, it means they lived a life that carries truth beyond their time. And that is exactly what Asiya gave to the world. In the Quran, Allah gives us examples of people to guide us. Sometimes they are prophets, sometimes they are people who were tested, and sometimes they are women whose silence carried more strength than the swords of kings. In Surah At-Tahrim, Allah mentions Asiya with deep honor. He calls her an example for all believers, not just for women, not just for those who suffer, but for everyone. Because the way she lived and the way she died carries meaning that touches every human heart. She lived in a world of pride, yet she chose humility. She lived beside the most powerful man, yet she turned to the one who is truly powerful. She lived in a place where people worshipped gold, but her heart worshipped only the truth. That is why her story was chosen. That is why her dua was recorded. That is why her name will never be forgotten. Think about the words she said. My Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise. These are not just words, they are a doorway. They show us what matters in life. She could have asked to escape the pain. She could have asked for Pharaoh to be destroyed. She could have asked for her old life back. But she didn't. She asked for something higher, something eternal. A house, but not just any house, a house near Allah. That sentence holds deep wisdom. She didn't just want to enter paradise. She wanted to be close to her Lord. She didn't care about palaces or gold or servants. She cared about nearness to the one who created her. That is real love. That is real belief. And that is what made her so special. Today, many people look for peace in the wrong places. They look for it in money and status and relationships and fame. But all of these things fade, they change, they disappoint. Asiya reminds us that real peace is with Allah. Real safety is with Him, real honor is with Him. She gave up everything she had in this world, and Allah gave her something far greater. A home that will never break. A light that will never go out. A place where she will never cry again. Asiya's life was full of pain, but her ending was full of peace. That is how Allah honors those who are patient. That is how He lifts the hearts that remain firm. Many people think that when bad things happen, it means Allah is angry. But Asiya teaches us the opposite. Sometimes the hardest pain brings the greatest reward. Sometimes the biggest test hides the biggest treasure. Pharaoh was the king in this world, but he lost everything. Asiya was tortured, but she gained everything. That is the difference between false power and true power. False power looks big, but it is weak. True power is quiet, but it lasts forever. When you hold on to your faith, even when you are alone, you become stronger than any ruler, because Allah stands with you. The Prophet Muhammad said that many men reached the level of perfection, but among women only 4 did. One of them was Asiya. He placed her beside Maryam, the mother of Isa, beside Khadijah, his own beloved wife, beside Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet. This is not just an honor, this is a sign that the path to greatness is not closed, that anyone from any time can reach that level. Asiya lived long before Islam came, but her heart knew the truth. Her faith was pure, and Allah accepted her. Her story is especially important for people who are suffering in silence, for people living in places where truth is mocked, for women trapped in homes where their voice is crushed, for believers hiding their iman out of fear. Asiya shows you that Allah sees you, that He knows your heart, that He hears your cries. Even if no one else knows what you are going through, Allah does, and He will never forget it. Sometimes people think that being religious means your life will be easy, but the life of Asiya shows us something different. Her belief did not remove the pain. It gave her strength to go through it. Her faith didn't stop the torture. It gave her light in the middle of darkness. That is the power of true belief. It doesn't erase the fire, but it keeps your soul from burning. She was not a prophet. She didn't perform miracles. She didn't give long speeches. She simply believed, and she stayed patient. That's it. And that was enough for Allah to raise her above thousands of others. That was enough to make her an example for all time. One of the most beautiful parts of her story is her silence. She didn't need to argue. She didn't shout or curse Pharaoh. Her faith spoke louder than any words. Her silence carried meaning. Her patience carried weight. She knew that Allah was watching, and that was all she needed. In today's world, people often chase attention. They want to be seen, they want their voices heard. But Asiya reminds us that sometimes, your quiet connection with Allah is more powerful than any speech. Your private prayer, your hidden tears, your silent strength. All of this is seen by the one who matters most. And when he sees you, he will reward you in ways that no one else can. Asiya's life also teaches us something else. That Allah chooses his beloved servants from every place, even the most unexpected ones. Who would have thought that the wife of Pharaoh, the enemy of Allah, would become one of the greatest believers? But Allah's mercy is bigger than we can imagine. He can place light in the middle of darkness. He can grow a flower on the hardest rock. He can guide the heart that lives in the middle of a palace built on lies. So never think that your situation is too hard. Never think that your environment is too dark. Asiya lived in the darkest place, but she still found Allah. She lived in the middle of falsehood, but her heart remained clean. That is a sign for us that no matter where you are, you can choose truth, you can hold on to faith, and if you do, Allah will give you more than you ever dreamed. Sometimes people feel tired. They ask, how long do I have to suffer? How long do I have to wait? Asiya shows you that even if your pain lasts for a while, it is not forever. Every tear is counted. Every moment is written. And when the reward comes, it will erase all the pain. She didn't live a long life after believing, but her reward is forever. Her name is forever. Her place near Allah is forever. Even the angels know her name. Even the stars carry her memory, because she chose to believe when it was hardest. And that choice made her shine. That choice turned her pain into honor. Her dua is still repeated today. My Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise. It is a short prayer, but it holds the dream of every heart. Because at the end of everything, that's what we all want. A place near our Lord. A place where we are safe. A place where no one can hurt us. A place where we can finally rest. Asiya reached that place. Not because she fought battles. Not because she built empires. But because she believed. Because she stayed true. Because she didn't let fear control her. And if she could do it, so can we. Her story is not just a story from the past. It is a mirror. It shows us who we are. It shows us who we can be. If we choose patience over anger, if we choose truth over lies, if we choose Allah over the world, then we are walking on her path. Then we are following her steps, and just like she was seen, we will be seen. Just like she was honored, we will be honored. Just like she found peace, we will find peace. So remember her. When things get hard, when you feel alone, when your heart is heavy, remember her and whisper the same words she whispered. My Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise, and trust that he will hear you, just like he heard her. Before she became a symbol of courage and faith, before she stood against Pharaoh and asked for a house in paradise, Asiya was just a woman living behind walls that looked beautiful, but felt empty. Not much is known about her early life, but we know this. Allah gave her a heart that could see beyond gold and power. While the world looked at her as the Queen of Egypt, deep inside, she was someone who was searching for something real. She was searching for truth. She was surrounded by gold, but her soul was thirsty for light. She lived in a palace that had everything: large halls, decorated walls, soft beds, food from every corner of the world, and people who obeyed every command. But that palace had no peace. Pharaoh, her husband, was feared by the people, but he also controlled everyone inside the palace. He was not just cruel to the people outside. He was cruel at home too. He didn't understand love. He didn't know how to speak with kindness. He thought he was a god, and he expected everyone, including Asiya, to treat him like one. Asiya spent years smiling in front of others while hiding her sadness. She wore fine clothes, but her heart felt poor. She attended royal meetings, but she was never really free. She had no one to talk to, no one she could trust, no one who believed in what she believed. She walked through gardens filled with flowers, but every step felt heavy. She looked at statues in every corner of the palace, and her heart whispered, "This is not right." She was not a believer in these false gods. She never accepted Pharaoh's claim of being divine, but she couldn't speak. She couldn't protest. She had to stay silent. For a long time, her faith was just a quiet thought, a hope, a longing. But Allah was preparing her heart. When the basket with baby Musa arrived, everything began to change. At first it felt like a miracle. A child sent to her arms wrapped in innocence, but as he grew, she saw more than just a child. She saw signs. She saw character. She saw truth. She didn't understand everything yet, but her heart was waking up. When Musa left the palace as a young man, she felt his absence. It was like a light had left her life. And when he returned years later with a message from Allah, she knew this was the reason her heart had been searching all along. Even before she openly believed, Asiya had already been fighting a battle inside herself. Every time she bowed to idols in public, her heart whispered the name of Allah in private. Every time Pharaoh asked people to call him Lord, her soul screamed that there was only one true Lord. But she stayed quiet, waiting for the right time, waiting for the right strength. And when she heard Musa speak the truth in the court, her heart said yes. Yes, this is it. This is what I have always believed. This is the voice I've been waiting for. From that moment, her quiet faith became a strong flame. She still couldn't show it publicly, but her love for Allah became her secret strength. She would pray silently. She would cry in the middle of the night. She would look at the stars and know her Lord was watching. She lived in the same palace, but her heart had moved far away from it. She had disconnected herself from everything false. She found peace in her faith, even while walking through a place full of sin. But keeping that faith hidden was not easy. Every day was a risk. Every glance from a servant could mean suspicion. Every word she spoke had to be careful. She had to hide her tears. She had to act normal in front of Pharaoh. She had to eat at his table, walk beside him, and pretend like nothing had changed. But inside, everything had changed. She didn't belong there anymore. She belonged to Allah. And slowly, the walls around her began to feel tighter. She would visit the women in the palace. Many of them were servants, slaves, or poor villagers forced to work. She treated them with kindness. She never shouted at them. She never hurt anyone. Sometimes, she would say soft words about mercy and truth. Some of them began to wonder, what had changed in her? Why did she speak like this? Why did her eyes look different? But no one dared to ask, and Asiya never told them. Her secret was between her and her Lord. Over time, the tension grew. Her silence became heavier. The palace, once so shiny, started to feel like a prison. Every statue she passed felt like a lie. Every word Pharaoh spoke felt like poison. She couldn't take it anymore. She decided to speak. She decided to declare her belief. She no longer cared about the consequences. Her heart had chosen its side, and her lips were ready to follow. She told Pharaoh she believed in the God of Musa. She told him she would never worship him again. She told him he was not a god. He was just a man who would die like everyone else. A man who would stand before the real king on the day of judgment. When Pharaoh heard this, he was furious. His pride was broken. He had always controlled people with fear, but now his own wife had no fear of him. This was not just a rejection. It was an insult, a public shame, and he could not accept it. He tried to change her mind. He shouted. He threatened. He reminded her of everything she had: power, status, wealth. He said, "I gave you everything. How can you turn against me?" But Asiya didn't blink. She said, "I choose my Lord over your kingdom. I choose truth over fear. I choose the next life over this one. No matter what you do, I will never worship you. I will never return to falsehood. That was the last straw for Pharaoh. He ordered her to be chained. He ordered her to be tortured. He told his guards to beat her, starve her, and leave her in the sun. The woman who once slept in silk was now lying on the ground. The Queen of Egypt was now treated like a criminal, but she never cried out. She never asked for help. She kept whispering the name of Allah. She kept her heart connected to her Lord. She was tested in ways we can't imagine. Her skin was burned by the sun. Her back was broken by lashes. Her lips were dry. Her eyes were swollen. But her soul was calm. Every time they hurt her, she felt her heart growing closer to Jannah. Every time she felt pain, she remembered the reward. She remembered the house near Allah. She remembered that all of this would end, and what waited for her was forever. Sometimes she would speak softly to the sky. Her guards thought she was talking to herself, but she was speaking to her Lord. She was asking for strength. She was asking for patience. She was thanking Him for guiding her. She was not a victim. She was a warrior. But her weapon was not a sword. Her weapon was dua. Her strength was her faith. Pharaoh kept watching. He thought maybe she would give up. Maybe she would change her mind. Maybe the pain would break her. But it didn't. It only made her stronger. She had nothing left in this world, and that gave her complete freedom. When you have nothing to lose, no one can control you, and that's what made her so powerful. She didn't scream at Pharaoh. She didn't try to fight him with words. She just held on to her belief. She waited for Allah to take her soul, and when the time came, He did, with mercy, with honor, with light. The angels took her not as a beaten prisoner but as a queen. They lifted her to the heavens. They showed her the house that she had asked for, her real palace, the one near her Lord. And her name was written in the Quran. Her story became an example for the world, not just for women, not just for people of the past, but for all believers, for anyone who faces darkness and chooses light, for anyone who lives among falsehood but holds on to truth, for anyone who suffers alone but knows that Allah is always near. Even today, her story brings strength. When a person is stuck in a home where faith is mocked, remember Asiya. When someone is treated unfairly for choosing truth, remember her courage. When the world tells you to stay silent but your heart wants to speak, remember her strength. She showed us that real power is not in ruling people. Real power is in staying loyal to Allah no matter the cost. She was not born to be a hero. She didn't lead armies. She didn't speak to crowds. She didn't have followers. But her name is remembered more than any general or king, because her story is written by Allah Himself. Her life was short. Her pain was real. But her reward is forever. And her example lives on, giving light to hearts all around the world. What makes her story even more powerful is that she was so close to evil yet remained pure. She was married to one of the worst men in history. Yet his darkness did not enter her heart. She saw the worst of human pride and cruelty, but it did not change her. She didn't become like him. She didn't lose herself. She stayed kind. She stayed soft. But she also stayed strong. That's not easy. Most people, when surrounded by evil, start to lose their light. But Asiya protected her heart. She didn't allow her surroundings to shape her soul. She kept her connection with Allah alive. And that's why, even though her body was in chains, her spirit was free. She was the freest person in the palace, because she had nothing left to fear. She could have chosen silence. She could have lived a safe life. She could have kept her faith hidden, but she didn't. She chose truth over safety. She chose Jannah over gold. She chose Allah over the most powerful man on earth. And in doing so, she showed us what true faith looks like. She didn't need loud words. She didn't need a stage. She didn't need followers. Her heart was enough. Her dua was enough. Her tears in the night were enough. And Allah saw her. Allah honored her. And Allah gave her a place among the greatest women of all time. Before we begin, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. It really helps us bring you more stories like this, stories that are deep, emotional, and full of wisdom from the Quran. Now, let me tell you something that may surprise you. In the middle of the biggest palace in the world during the time of one of the most powerful and cruel rulers in history, there lived a woman. She was not an ordinary woman. She was the queen. She had everything: gold, clothes, servants, food, status, and comfort. But inside her heart, she felt like a prisoner. Her name was Asiya, and her story is not just amazing. It is shocking. It is painful, but it is also beautiful. And once you hear it, you will never forget it. Asiya was the wife of Pharaoh, the same Pharaoh who ruled Egypt during the time of Prophet Musa. This Pharaoh was not just a king. He was a man who told people that he was their god. He forced everyone to worship him. He made laws that were full of injustice. He killed babies. He enslaved entire communities. He ruled through fear. And yet, the woman who slept beside him every night was nothing like him. Her heart was kind, her eyes were full of mercy. She was quiet, but she was strong. She didn't agree with her husband, but she couldn't speak. Not yet. Because she lived in a place where one wrong word could get you killed. One day, something very unusual happened. Pharaoh's soldiers found a basket floating on the river Nile. They pulled it out and brought it to the palace. Inside the basket, there was a baby. A small, innocent baby boy. He had no one. No mother, no father. Just a soft cloth wrapped around him. This baby was Musa. And that moment, when Asiya looked into his eyes, something changed inside her heart. She felt love. A deep, powerful love. As if this baby belonged to her. As if Allah had placed him in her life for a reason. She picked him up and held him close. She didn't see him as a stranger. She saw him as a gift. She said to Pharaoh, "Let's keep him. Maybe he will bring us joy. Maybe he will be like a son to us. Maybe we can benefit from him." Pharaoh, for reasons that only Allah knows, agreed. He allowed the baby to stay in the palace. He didn't know that this child would one day destroy his empire. He didn't know that his own wife had just taken the first step in a journey that would lead her away from his throne and closer to Allah. Asiya raised Musa in the palace. She gave him love. She protected him. She watched him grow. She didn't know yet that he was a prophet, but something inside her always told her that he was special, different, chosen. Years passed. Musa grew into a man. He was strong. He was wise. And then, one day, he left Egypt. He disappeared for many years. When he returned, he came with a message from Allah. He stood in front of Pharaoh and said, "I am a messenger from the Lord of the worlds. Worship Allah alone. Let the people go free. Stop your injustice." Pharaoh was shocked, angry. How dare someone stand in his palace and say these things? But he was especially angry because this man used to live in his palace. He was the boy they raised, and now he was challenging everything Pharaoh believed in. But Asiya was listening. She was listening very carefully. And when she heard the message of Musa, her heart said, "Yes. Yes, this is the truth. This is what I've been waiting for. All these years of living in falsehood, all these years of silence, and now finally, someone is speaking the truth." She knew in her heart that Pharaoh was not a god. He was just a man full of pride and cruelty. But Allah was the true king, the true Lord, and her soul longed to worship him. Asiya began to believe, secretly, quietly. She didn't tell anyone at first. She prayed in her heart. She called upon Allah when no one was watching. She was surrounded by idols and statues, but her heart only bowed to one God. Every time she looked at Musa, she saw the truth. Every time she remembered the baby she once held, she felt stronger. Her iman grew inside her like a tree, slowly, deeply, quietly. But it was only a matter of time before the storm came. Pharaoh found out. he discovered that his own wife, the Queen of Egypt, the woman who sat beside him in front of the world, had believed in the God of Musa. He couldn't believe it. He was not just angry, he was humiliated. This was not just a personal betrayal. It was a threat to his rule. If his own wife could turn against him, then anyone could. He needed to show the world that no one, not even the queen, could go against him and survive. So he ordered her to be tortured, not secretly, not quietly, but publicly. He wanted everyone to see what happens when someone disobeys him. He didn't care that she was once his wife. He didn't care that she had never harmed him. All he saw was a challenge to his pride. So he gave the order: take her, beat her, chain her, make her suffer, break her will, destroy her faith. But they couldn't. No matter how much they beat her, she didn't break. Her body was in pain. Her skin was bruised. Her bones ached. But her heart was firm. Her faith was stronger than ever. In that moment of pain, she didn't curse. She didn't scream. She didn't ask for mercy from Pharaoh. She only raised her eyes to the sky. And then, she said one of the most powerful du'as in all of history. She said, "My Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise, and save me from Pharaoh and his evil, and save me from the wrongdoing people." That's all she said, nothing more. She didn't ask to be saved from the pain. She didn't ask to be put back on the throne. She didn't ask for revenge. She asked for something much higher. She asked to be near Allah. She asked for a house, not in this world, but in Jannah, near her Lord. And Allah accepted her dua. Right then, right there. He opened a window for her. He showed her the house in paradise. While her body was bleeding on the ground, her eyes were looking at a palace greater than anything on earth. She saw gardens. She saw light. She saw peace. And in that moment she smiled. Her lips curved into a smile while the guards stood in shock. Why is she smiling, they wondered. But they didn't know. They couldn't see what she saw. She wasn't looking at them. She wasn't even in this world anymore. Her soul had already tasted the sweetness of paradise. And then, she died. Gently, peacefully, with dignity. Her soul was taken by the angels. She left behind the pain. She left behind the palace. She left behind Pharaoh. She became a queen again. But this time, in the highest place. In the place where there is no death, no pain, no fear. She became one of the greatest women in history, not because of her wealth, not because of her status, but because of her faith. Asiya teaches us something very powerful. She teaches us that real strength is not in muscles or money. It is in the heart. The strongest person is not the one who can control others. It is the one who can hold on to truth when everyone else is lying. It is the one who chooses Allah, even when it means losing everything else. Asiya could have stayed silent. She could have protected herself. But she chose to speak, she chose to believe. And because of that, Allah raised her. Her story is also a message for anyone who feels trapped. For anyone who is living in a place where people don't understand their faith. For anyone who feels alone in their belief. Asiya was alone. She had no one. But she had Allah. And that was enough. Her story tells you that your pain is not wasted. Your faith is not invisible. Allah sees you. He hears you. He knows what you are going through. And He will reward you, just like He rewarded her. Think about this. She lived in the richest palace in the world. She had gold. She had servants. She had power. But when she was dying, she didn't ask for any of that. She asked for a house near Allah. That's what she wanted. That's what mattered to her. And that's what she got. Because she gave up the palace of Egypt, Allah gave her a palace in Jannah. Because she gave up the fake God, Allah gave her closeness to the true God. Because she gave up comfort in this world, Allah gave her eternal comfort in the next. Her story is not just for women. It's for everyone. Men, women, young, old. Her story is for anyone who wants to live with dignity. For anyone who wants to stay firm in their beliefs. for anyone who wants to find peace in a world that is full of confusion. Her story shows you the way of faith, the way of courage, the way of truth. She didn't shout. She didn't fight with weapons. She didn't lead an army. But she changed the world with her patience, with her dua, with her iman. And that is the most powerful kind of change. That is the kind of change that lasts forever. That's why Allah mentioned her in the Quran. That's why her name lives on, because she was not a queen of gold. She was a queen of light. So whenever you feel weak, remember Asiya. Whenever you feel afraid, remember her courage. Whenever you feel lost, remember her dua. My Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise. That one sentence can change your life. That one sentence can lift you above your problems. That one sentence can carry you through the darkest times. And when the world tries to pull you away from your faith, remember that one woman, alone in a palace of cruelty, chose to hold on. And because of that, Allah gave her everything. He gave her peace. He gave her honor. He gave her eternity. And He will do the same for anyone who follows her path.